still out in the Bay Area from having driven out here for the Nintendo World Championships event, which I lost royally. I guess I don't know all the moves, and I gave up. I could have tried to learn them and try again, but anyway, I'm going to talk about here on foot and talk a little bit about a blog, read from my blog. It's called When the Sidewalks Are Safe, and it says here's a big issue. Now, I don't ride a bicycle, and I would need to look at what the laws are where I currently live regarding that. However, I find it wrong that in many areas of Sacramento County we do not allow bicyclists to ride on the sidewalk. Now, of course, there are bicyclists riding on the sidewalk, but they're not supposed to be doing that. I believe this would be a traffic offense. The thinking must be that if bicycles were allowed on the sidewalks, bicyclists would run into walkers. Which is, that probably would happen, but walkers could look out, basically, because that's what I have to do now, because there are bicycles on the sidewalk. They're not supposed to be there wherever you go in Sacramento County if you're on foot and you're on a sidewalk. Now, I'm sure to some extent pedestrians should be defensive, like I was just saying, and the truth is the bicyclists are already riding on the sidewalk and forcing walkers to step aside and get out of their way at this point, even if it's supposed to be that the bicyclists are over in the bike lane, if there is one, or in the street area on the side. I just think, if you're like me and you don't want to break the rules, I'm like the type of person that if I broke that rule and was riding on the sidewalk where I'm not supposed to be, I would probably potentially get stopped. I would be like the one guy, I just look like the guy who would get stopped for that, okay? And I don't want to get ticketed. I have a CDLA. I don't want to get a traffic offense because I'm a professional driver potentially, okay? Even if it's just a traffic offense, that's a big deal to me because I actually apply for driving jobs. So, okay. Well, the laws preventing people from riding on the sidewalk are frankly the only thing preventing riding a bicycle to work from being a great alternative method of transportation. It rarely rains in Sacramento, and if it did, rideshare is there. Potentially people could save a lot of money by just owning a bicycle if they live near where they work, which not everybody does, but the legal construct that forces bicyclists into the bike lane is not unique to Sacramento County, but I'd like to see Sacramento County be unique, and in fact all of California. I wrote this blog and I'm not changing it. I'm keeping it just how it is. I'm not changing it. I should edit it a little bit, but I am also planning to run for district supervisor. There is an incumbent Republican where I live, and that's really what I got started looking at, and it was only after this universal health care vote, or abstaining from voting by Richard Pan, that I was thinking about I'm going to try to somehow beat him in that race without spending any money, even though that may not be possible, but at least people would have hope that if I did that, that they could do similarly, and that might improve the country. So, I would like to see California be unique and allow bicyclists, skateboarders, those hoverboard people, roller skaters, rollerbladers, and pretty much anybody not on a 50cc scooter or more powerful to ride on the sidewalk if they choose to ride on the sidewalk. The banning of bicycles from the sidewalk forces people like me, if I wanted to ride a bike, to be where I'm not comfortable, which is over in the road. I am not personally that good at riding a bicycle, so I just can't be in the road. I would not feel safe there, okay? on the side where you're supposed to be in certain areas. I know where I used to live, they had said unless you were in the residential zone, you had to be in the bike lane. You could not be on the sidewalk over near Arden Mall. Next thing you know, people like me have to go out and buy a car, and then we're using gas. If you know anything about electric cars, they cost a lot more. The batteries need to be replaced. The bicycle is the simple, and you look back at like the 1890s, this is what people built the roads for originally, were for bicyclists, and then it's like the car lobby just took over to say, hey, make it harder to ride a bicycle by forcing them over to the road where they could potentially get hit by all these cars. So this might go against the current legal framework in a lot of the country, but I believe it is safer for many bicyclists and others, such as skateboarders, to be allowed to ride on the sidewalk if they choose to. Pretty much reiterating exactly what I was saying. This needs to be edited. As they say, give me liberty or give me death. And indeed, it seems there is a greater risk of death or injury if individuals are not allowed to ride on the sidewalk. Personally, I drive all the time. Partly just thinking about this type of thing got me to where I didn't want to be on a skateboard or on a bicycle. But not everybody can afford a car or truck, okay? And they're going to try to get a job and go to work with that bicycle or skateboard. And so by my estimation, this change in the laws wouldn't cost us anything. So that's good news. A lot of what I would try to make happen will not cost anything, because I think that's easier to make it happen if it's essentially free. Another thing, okay, here's a cool pin that I got at the Nintendo World Championships.